What's good, guys? Dexter Daniel Bartas here from engineeredbydex.com. Welcome to another video. Today we are going to find out if Pro Tools First is the best beginner DAW for solo artists. Today we are going to review Pro Tools First, beginner software for people who are getting into recording, specifically people who are rappers and singers who are still deciding, what kind of DAW they want to get into and learn on. Today we're going to tackle Pro Tools First, and how we are going to do that is we are going to measure the actual software against 10-point criteria that I have set up and that I'm going to go throughout this video. Just before we hop into the rest of the video, just in case you didn't know, DAW or DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation, and it refers to the software you use to record, mix and master your music. When we look at a DAW, the first question we need to ask obviously is, can this DAW record? I know that may sound like a stupid question, but if we look at a DAW like Wavelab, for instance, that's geared towards mastering, it's very limited in terms of its recording ability. Wavelab can only record up to 3 audio tracks, but something like Pro Tools First can record up to 16 audio tracks. So that's a major difference. Think about a singer, think about all the various layers and dubs that you're going to record. So yeah, 16 tracks, Pro Tools First. As we can see over here, there is an audio record button, so it confirms that we can record in Pro Tools First. You go towards the track button over here, you select new track, you select audio track, create an audio track, you arm the audio track, and you hit record once you are ready to record. So Pro Tools First +1 on the record features. So guys, the second criteria we are going to look at is whether the DAW has what's called a parametric EQ. Parametric EQ is extremely important because it's the most versatile and the most functional EQ. It allows you to have filters, it allows you to change the cue width, the band width, in order for you to do extremely surgical cuts when you are EQing. And so parametric EQ is very important. So what I'm going to do right now is import just a vocal audio file that I have here on my desktop, and we are going to check out whether Pro Tools has a parametric EQ. Over here towards the inserts, plugins, EQ, and here they have EQ3 1 band, EQ3 7 band. I'm going to select the 7 band EQ and throw it on the vocals. Here we have 7 band parametric EQ. So as I said earlier, parametric EQ is something that allows you to add filters. Over here we have a high pass filter that I can just throw in here on the vocal to remove some bass. I'm going to play you the vocal so we can see how that actually sounds.
I know the season's ripe for change, it's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged.
So we have a filter over here we can use to remove bass. We also have a low pass filter or high cut that we can put in on this side to remove some of the highs.
I know the season's ripe for change, it's changing.
And we also have the various bands in the middle, low frequency band, the low mid frequency band, the mid frequency band, high mid frequency, and the high frequency bands. Here we can do things like cut frequencies that aren't working for us. So let's select the mid frequency band. You can put in the mid frequency band, the yellow one over here, and we can adjust the Q to make it thinner. I'm going to choose a Q of 8, and I'm going to go select the frequency that is not working for me in this guy's vocal.
I know the season's ripe for change, it's changing all around. I know the reason.
So we can surgically remove that specific frequency, say about 6 dB or so.
I know the season's ripe for change, it's changing.
Okay, so we have a surgical ability with this parametric EQ. So yeah, I'd say this is a very good EQ to learn on, a very good EQ to use. Pro Tools definitely got it right with their stock EQ, and that's +1 for parametric EQ. The third criteria that we are going to look at is the specific compressor that comes with Pro Tools First. Inserts, plugin, we are going to go to Dynamics, and we are going to check out the compressor. Now, a very important thing about the kind of compressor that your DAW has, you need to make sure that it is a fully functional compressor, especially if you want to start learning how to compress properly. So make sure that the compressor in your DAW has an attack feature, has a release feature, has a threshold, and a ratio feature. These are parameters that you need when it comes to a compressor. Some compressors, they have what they call fast and a slow setting, let's say, when it comes to the attack. So you can't necessarily dial in your specific attack amount in milliseconds. And for someone learning how to use a compressor, it's very important that you actually have the ability to dial in specific amounts so you can train your ears to hear the difference. This compressor has those features where you can dial in, specifically. So I'd say, yeah, +1 to Pro Tools here again for having a very functional compressor in their free DAW. So the next thing we're gonna check out is the reverb. What kind of reverb does Pro Tools have? Reverb is very important to create space in your mix. It's to create the distance from the mic and the listener's ear, a natural distance. So we're gonna check out over here what reverb Pro Tools first has. Reverb mono. This is the reverb that comes with Pro Tools. We'll have a listen on the vocals real quick.
The seasons rapid change, it's changing all around. I know the reasons you
can change it up a bit. Try the small.
know the seasons rapid change.
You can try the church setting.
Know the seasons rapid change.
Obviously, we don't want to throw it directly onto the vocal track. I'm going to talk a bit more about that when I get to the functionality and the auxiliary buses. Definitely has a working reverb. You can mess around over here.
I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where is the peacefulness of my...
So that sounds like a really nice reverb to me, especially considering that it's stock. So again, that's +1 for Pro Tools first. Next up, we're gonna check the kind of delay plugin that Pro Tools first comes with. So we're gonna go to plugins again. We're gonna go to delay, or delay 3. I'm gonna play around with it again, just to hear what it can do.
I know the seasons ripe for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where is the peacefulness of mine? I know the seasons ripe for change. It's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged. They're tearing me down. Where's the peacefulness of mine?
Bit of a slap delay. So yeah, I would say definitely a good delay plugin. They have various presets you can actually try out over here. Obviously, you can play with the delay yourself, the time, and you can play with the various note settings. So I'd say +1 for Pro Tools first over here. So lastly, in terms of the plugins, I would say in the current hip-hop and pop world, it's going to be very difficult to actually get away without having a functional auto-tune plugin within your DAW. I mean, auto-tune is so crucial in terms of actually, one, pitch correcting the actual vocals, and number two, it's kind of become the sound of modern music. So without the auto-tune plugin, there's definitely a gap in your DAW. And unfortunately, with Pro Tools first, they don't come with a free auto-tune plugin, and they also don't allow you to use third-party plugins without actually upgrading the software. So you're gonna have to pay to play a bit there if you want a working auto-tune plugin. You have two options here. You can either use the marketplace, Pro Tools first marketplace, to actually go purchase an auto-tune plugin if they have one on there, or as I said earlier, you can upgrade to use third-party auto-tune plugins like Wavestune and other free auto-tune plugins. So yeah, that's unfortunately a -1 for Pro Tools first. No auto-tune plugin and no way to use third-party auto-tune plugins. So the next criteria we're gonna look at is the functionality of the DAW. Specifically for me, I've broken this up into two sections. Number one, the mixer window / editing window, and also does the DAW have auxiliary buses or some kind of send and return mechanism, because we're not actually allowed to put reverbs and delays directly on the audio track as I've done here. We are supposed to use aux buses to do that, so I'm going to show you guys that. So first off, let's check if they actually have a mixer window and an editing view for us to switch between while we work in the DAW. So obviously over here we can see that this is the edit window. If we right click over here, we can see the various tools you can use to edit. You can zoom in to the actual waveform. You can trim sections of the waveform you don't need. There's a pencil tool. I assume this is for drawing in automation. Yeah, this is for drawing in specific automation like volume automation and things like that. So this is the editing window where you do all of that stuff. +1 to Pro Tools for having an editing window. The second thing that I'm looking at in terms of the functionality when it comes to the various windows is the mixing window. And Pro Tools definitely does have a mixing window. If I click that icon over there, hop to the mixing window. This is where you'll balance various audio tracks and aux tracks, all those kinds of things. Definitely does have a mixing window, which is a very crucial when you are learning to engineer, learning to gain stage, and learning to balance all of your various audio tracks. So mixing window +1 to Pro Tools first. Okay guys, so the next criteria we are going to look at is whether Pro Tools first has auxiliary buses for us to use send and return tracks for our reverb and for our delays. Remember, you aren't allowed to put reverbs and delays directly onto your audio tracks. You need to mix them in via a send or return. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head over here to track. I'm going to create a new track. I'm going to select aux input and I'm going to rename it to reverb. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my reverb from the actual audio track and I'm going to put it onto this auxiliary bus instead. Now I'm going to route this auxiliary to the actual audio track using send and return functionality. So over here I'm going to select the input on the aux as bus 1. I'm going to head towards the mixing window as I discussed earlier, and I'm going to use a send channel, throw on bus 1. Now what we should have is we should have the reverb going towards the vocals or being sent to the vocals via the auxiliary channel.
Help me dry all my tears and help me allay all my fears and help me.
So this is actually how you are supposed to use reverb. You are not supposed to put it directly onto the channel. You are supposed to use send and return tracks. And Pro Tools has the ability to use send and return tracks via the auxiliary buses. So that's +1 to Pro Tools first. Okay guys, so far so good. It seems as if Pro Tools first is not a bad starting point for solo artists. The final criteria I'm going to look at is whether we can actually save the projects that we are busy with, that we work on, because a lot of free DAWs actually don't have that functionality. They're restricted quite heavily in order for you to purchase the full version of the software. Another major limitation with Pro Tools first is that you only are allowed to save 3 projects at a time. In order to actually save more than 3 projects, you need to upgrade the software. So that is quite a major limitation for the free software in my book. So definitely a -1 on that point. So guys, just one more important point that I did notice. I ran into some Wi-Fi issues while recording this video, and Pro Tools first did shut down. I realized that it uses cloud storage capabilities. So it uses the cloud in order to actually save your work. So if you don't have a stable internet connection, stable Wi-Fi connection, then I definitely wouldn't recommend you go into Pro Tools first for your first DAW. So there you have it guys, this was my review of Pro Tools first. Besides the fact that it has no native auto-tune plugin and only allows you to save 3 projects at a time, I feel as if this is quite an amazing DAW. I mean, Pro Tools, they are the market leaders when it comes to mixing and recording. So I don't think it's a bad idea for you guys to get started on this specific software. I would, however, definitely consider upgrading in order to use third-party plugins and in order to use auto-tune, in order to save more than 3 projects. I think that's massive. All in all, I feel like Pro Tools first, final score 8 out of 10. Next week I will be reviewing Ableton Live Lite. Don't know if you guys know, but Ableton Live is my main software. What I would like you guys to do for me is go towards the comment section and let me know if I've missed anything. If you guys want more information on Pro Tools first, ask me questions at the bottom and I will definitely get to it. So guys, there you have it. Pro Tools first. Dexter Daniel Bartis from engineeredbydex.com. I'll see you guys in the next video.